Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever stopped to wonder what actually separates your everyday gym routine, or say, your morning jog, from the literally superhuman engines of elite endurance athletes? We look at these Olympic champions and we completely marvel at their speed and their stamina. But what is the actual, measurable biological difference going on inside their bodies? Well, in today's Explainer, we're going to look at the absolute gold standard metric of fitness. We're exploring the extreme limits of human physiology, how the absolute best in the world build their biological engines, and maybe, most importantly, how this high-level exercise science directly applies to your everyday health and longevity.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the ultimate fitness metric, extreme arenas, the superhuman blueprint, training your engine, and finally, research from modern life.
All right, Section 1, the ultimate fitness metric.
97.5. I mean, what does that staggering number even represent? Well, this is an actual physiological measurement achieved by a Norwegian cyclist named Oskar Svensson. And honestly, here's the truly absurd part. He recorded this massive number when he was just a teenager. It completely highlights the sheer scale of elite potential, especially when it's nurtured early on in a super strong endurance culture like Norway's. But what exactly is being measured here?
So the crucial point is really understanding this definition. VO2 max stands for maximal oxygen uptake. It's measured in milliliters of oxygen per kilogram of body weight per minute. To put it simply, it's the maximum rate at which your body can consume and utilize oxygen during intense, grueling exercise. Basically, think of it as the size of your body's engine. It shows exactly how efficiently your heart, your lungs, and your muscles are all working together to deliver and extract oxygen when you're under extreme physical stress. It is, without a doubt, the absolute gold standard for measuring aerobic capacity and cardiovascular fitness.
To really put Oscar's teenage record into perspective for us, the average healthy adult walking around today typically has a VO2 max sitting somewhere between 30 and 45. Now, elite marathoners, they push that up to around 70 to 80. And the peak historical records, like the absolute known limits of human biology, those push past 96. Their engines are quite literally twice as powerful as the average person's. No way, right?
Moving on to Section 2, extreme arenas.
Extensive laboratory testing has revealed the absolute top-tier endurance sports. Triathletes, for instance, average well over 80, with incredible competitors like Christian Blumenfeld recording peak numbers associated with values over 100. Then you've got cycling, where our teenager Oskar Svensson made his mark, which regularly sees elites in the 70s to 84 range. And then there's cross-country skiing. This sits right at the top, with elites routinely hitting 70 to 85, and absolute legends like Bjorn Delia, hitting a peak of roughly 96 during his multi-Olympic title career. These sports demand continuous, grueling aerobic work across massive muscle groups.
But why do these specific sports reign supreme? Let's quickly compare two of the giants here: cross-country skiing and cycling. Cross-country skiing is essentially the perfect storm for oxygen demand. It's weight-bearing, it engages all four limbs simultaneously in an upright posture, and it's very often performed at high altitudes where oxygen is already super scarce. This basically turns these athletes into literal oxygen vacuums. It forces their bodies to maximize every single drop. Contrast that with cycling, right? Cycling is entirely lower body focused and obviously you're seated, but the prolonged time in the saddle, sustaining near maximal power output for hours on end, that forces the body to build massive, highly efficient lower body aerobic engines. So they arrive at this extreme fitness through very different mechanical demands.
Which brings us to Section 3, the superhuman blueprint.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's going on under the hood. Building this biological blueprint requires a mix of hitting the genetic lottery and rigorous, highly systematic training. Inside an elite athlete, you're going to find a physically larger heart capable of a massive stroke volume, meaning it literally pumps way more blood with every single beat. You'll also find incredibly dense capillary networks designed to deliver that blood directly into the muscles, plus abundant mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of the cells efficiently turning that oxygen into energy. On top of all that, environmental factors play a massive role. Training at altitude stimulates red blood cell production, giving the blood a much higher oxygen-carrying capacity. Meanwhile, cold weather, like exactly what those Norwegian skiers face, actually increases the body's overall metabolic rate.
All right, Section 4, training your engine.
Now you might be wondering how you can apply this. Well, the elite protocol is remarkably structured, and the great news is it translates perfectly to recreational athletes. It all starts with baseline testing. You just have to know your starting VO2 max or lactate threshold to program anything effectively. From there, it's all about building consistent aerobic volume. You simply cannot skip this step, guys. The aerobic foundation has to be solidly built before you even think about adding intensity. Once that foundation is rock solid, then you introduce the intensity through high-intensity interval training. And finally, integrating strength and cross-training improves your physical economy and keeps you injury-free. Professional programs rely heavily on the smart periodization of these components, constantly balancing intense work with crucial things like recovery, sleep, and nutrition.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the exact method athletes use when they want to specifically push their VO2 max ceiling higher. The scientifically proven 4x4 protocol is an absolute go-to. It consists of 4 separate intervals, each lasting 4 minutes, where you are pushing yourself to 90 to 95% of your maximum heart rate. Let me tell you, it is absolutely brutal. It's the kind of workout that genuinely makes you question your life choices in the middle of it. But the research shows that this specific dose of high-intensity work is incredibly effective at forcing the body to adapt and massively boost its aerobic capacity.
Let's look at the bigger picture in Section 5, Research from Modern Life.
Look, elite levels are extraordinarily rare, but you absolutely do not need an elite VO2 max to radically change your life. The research is crystal clear here. Just a modest 10 to 15% improvement in your baseline VO2 max yields massive cardiovascular benefits. It significantly reduces your overall cardiovascular risk and dramatically improves your daily quality of life. This is exactly why public health initiatives are increasingly modeling community fitness programs, things like local trail running groups or rowing machine classes, around the core principles of these high-demand sports.
And we see this everywhere now. Workplace wellness and longevity research further underscore VO2 max as a major predictor of healthy aging. So this really isn't just a sports metric anymore, right? It's a longevity metric. High-level research is continually showing us that a robust aerobic engine is actually one of the single greatest predictors of a long, healthy, and highly capable life.
And to really understand this kind of transformative data, you need access to the best information. AcademicJobs.com is the premier platform to read this kind of high-level research, perfectly distilled and made super easy to understand for modern life. It's honestly the ultimate tool to bridge that gap between complex university lab data and the actionable steps that you can actually take today.
So, we've seen the unbelievable heights of human endurance, we've broken down the biological blueprint, and we've learned how just a 15% improvement can completely revolutionize your health span. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to carry with you today. Knowing that your cardiovascular engine is the ultimate predictor of your healthy aging, how will you train your engine today to power your future? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.